What is up, duelists? Arts and Crofts here, once again bringing you your daily dose of Yu-Gi-Oh! GOAT format action. Today's feature match, we've got Sarsky versus Geist D. As always, both players rated in the top 200 of the Duelingbook GOAT format ladder. At the time this match was played, it looks like Geist D won the RPS here. They'll be going first, see what they like to start out with here. Geist D, of course, a known Chaos Control player, so would not be surprised to see them on a little bit more of a grindy deck here on out. And they open Pot of Greed, which is a very, very good start. And they're going to follow up with a good old T-set pass. So nice opening, up a card. We'll see how Sarsky can respond. Going to lead out with Pot of Greed of their own. So dueling pots here. Equal openings so far. Into Reinforcement of the Army. Cool, so Sarsky here might be on a little bit of warrior action. See what they find. They go for Exiled Force, a very safe way of dealing with set cards. Of course, you do need to... if you are playing Warrior, now Rhoda is played in like Go Control decks as well that run Warrior packages, but assuming Sarsky is on Warrior here, you do have a couple options off of Rhoda to deal with a set monster. You have Blade Knight, you have Exiled Force, you have Mystic Swordsman. Exiled Force is the safest of those options, but also the least kind of aggressive, right? So it's kind of depending on the exact scenario you think would be best at this point in time. I can understand playing it safe here, though, because if Geisty does have a Magician of Faith set to regrab this pot, things can get out of hand very quickly. So going for the safe option of set removal definitely makes sense at this point in time. And Exile will pop the set, and it is Magician of Faith, so nice call there from Sarsky, preventing the Faith recurring that Pot of Greed and keeping them in the game here. So yeah, nice play. They did have to give up their whole normal summon for that, but don't want to run into any sort of like Ring of Destruction or Raigeki Break or anything that could deal with the other options I mentioned that would require battle to deal with the Magician of Faith. So nice play there from Sarsky. Had to play it a little bit safe, but ended up being the right call. Geisty still here with the tempo advantage from going first, though. See if they have a follow-up play. They got Jar of Greed to thin the deck a little bit. And then we're gonna go set a couple back row pass. So one thing I do want to call out here is that Jar of Greed actually got a good amount of value here because Geisty having any back row meant that Sarsky was going to be less likely to go for one of the more aggressive threats to deal with the Magician of Faith, namely Blade Knight or Mystic Swordsman level 2, right? So Jar of Greed essentially getting a lot of value just as a bluff, forcing Sarsky to use that more conservative line to deal with the Magician of Faith. And yeah, just kind of wanted to point out Jar getting good value there. Not only just thinning the deck as it does, but also representing potential real back row to kind of keep Sarsky at bay a little bit more. Not the end of the world, of course, for Sarsky, but definitely stymied their aggression there a little bit, most likely. Let's see what they have now. We're going to go Heavy Storm, blow up everything. No chains, so they hit a Bluff Set Metamorphosis and a Torrential Tribute. So interesting there. I guess really wanting this Torrential. So the read here, my get, is that Geisty doesn't really have any good Metamorphosis targets in hand, so they're fine. Basically, what I think they did was set 2 because they really wanted the Torrential to stick around. Especially against Warrior, you don't want their monsters getting in for free because stuff like Donzalug and Kaiku can be really good against you. So you want something to stick on the board to deal with any aggression out of Sarsky. But Sarsky did have this set back row, which very well could be, especially in a Warrior deck, could be MST, could be Dust Tornado. Both cards that are pretty much always main decked in Warrior for the most part. And so setting a bluff alongside the Torrential to make it more likely the Torrential sticks around to act as defense. Heavy is just going to blow up everything, though. Hitting a Gravity Bind. Oh, interesting. So Sarsky might just be on, I guess, this could be like Cat. That's interesting. Rhoda in a Gravity Bind list. I mean, you could go for like some Cat stuff potentially. Interested to see exactly what their list is, but now there's no back row here for them to potentially go for a little bit of a combo. They're just going to go Normal Summon, Injection, Fairy Lily, nice big threat, get in for 3,400 here, taking some damage, but dealing more to Geisty. Nice play there. Heavy Storm follow-up with a nice big aggressive threat is always solid. And they're going to set another back row here, pass. Really interested to see exactly what Sarsky's list is. These are all cards that you'd either see in Earth Aggro or in Burn, right? Geisty, let's see what the play is. They have Graceful Charity, trying to dig for some answers to this Lily. And discard Dekoichi and Tsukuyomi, turning Chaos online. Didn't have any discard fodder, but one of the good things about very aggressive strategies like Sarsky's is that you don't give your opponent as much time as they would in like a Turbo Mirror or something to find an optimal time to use Graceful Charity for value. So the big threat of Lily being a massive clock forced Geist to kind of use their Graceful Charity not for any card advantage here, but just for card selection to try and deal with this. So another little minor win there for Sarsky. They find Duo, though, so full Trinity resolved here pretty early on in the game for Geisty. Not affecting the board, but is going to be really good to get rid of some of the gas that Sarsky might have in hand. Let's see what they snag. Going to be a Gyakugire Panda. Okay, so maybe this is just Panda Burn with a little bit of a Rhoda package because Exiled is a card. They're going to discard Giant Rat as well. Cool. And then Geist has Thunder Dragon here as well, so it looks like they are running Chaos Control for everyone to enjoy today. T-Drag plus meta generally signifies that. Get a couple copies there. And then we find Tribe Infecting Virus, discarding Thunder Dragon, using it as discard fodder as it is known for. Call Spellcaster, kill the Lily. Nice play there. And Lily is gone. Tribe can start beating in. So really nice turn here for Geisty, finding a couple Trinity pieces, finding a discard outlet for their Tribe, dealing with the threat. And yeah, you're down to 3,600 life points, which is pretty low against these like burn or burn adjacent strategies. But Sarsky is pretty low on cards here, thanks to the Duo and thanks to the Tribe plussing. So Geist definitely in the ascendancy here. Sarsky is going to draw for turn. We got Premature Burial. Some interesting choices here. You do still have one activation left of Lily, although then you won't have a second one to punch in for lethal. You could just go Exiled to deal with the Tribe, although that seems kind of not that great. Targeting Exiled, okay. I think that's fine. Use Prio, kill the Tribe. You're fine with that if you're Geisty. Not really the end of the world. You already got your value out of the Tribe. And if a burn deck is going to be using their Premature Burial just on Exiled, you're usually pretty happy with that, I think. Just going to set another back row pass. I guess Sarsky's at the point in the game where they just need to find another Battle Floodgate like Gravity Bind and try and stall things out and find some burn cards to finish off Geisty. Geist play here. We're just going to slam BLS. Yep, has Chaos set up here. This is a nice 2-turn clock. Force Sarsky to have the Floodgate or not. And going to get in for 3,000. Drop Sarsky all the way down to 600. Pass with lethal. Oh no, we're going to go main phase 2 Tribute Summon for Thunder Dragon, playing around potential Snatch Steal, which burn lists definitely can run. So Geisty, yeah, I mean, might as well at this point, because Thunder Dragon still represents lethal, whereas Snatch on the BLS is a lot stronger. So I like that play. Oh, and we're going to go meta into Reaper on the Nightmare here in main phase 2, which means that even if Sarsky has, like... Well, actually, if they have a set monster here to get in the way, this represents lethal next turn. Really hard to deal with for Sarsky. You basically need some sort of spot removal or, like, Snatch Steal. But going to make it really tough there for Sarsky to prevent lethal damage from coming in next turn. So cool play here out of Geisty. You don't always see Reaper on the Nightmare hit the board, but it can be really good to force through lethal in these very low life point scenarios. And then add another back row, pass turn. Sarsky is going to draw a set of monster pass. We'll see if Geisty can force through this Reaper. Going to knock the set, hitting Morphing Jar. That's pretty nice. And then get in for 800 is this game. And yes, that is game 1 to Geisty on this Chaos Control list. Taking it down over Sarsky on Panda Burn. Now, not in matchup that you see every day. I think common knowledge is that Burn definitely has a decent matchup in this because Scapegoat is very, very bad against Burn. So be interested to see if Geisty like takes those out. We didn't even see any of them in game 1, which is pretty nice for the control player game 1 against Burn. And now Sarsky is a very uphill battle here the rest of the match, having lost game 1 as kind of the more rogue deck in the scenario. Sarsky will be able to go first here game 2, at least for them. Might help them with a little bit of the tempo issues that they suffered last game. See what the play is. We're going to go normal summon Giant Rat, add a couple back row, pass. So nice, reliable, aggressive monster here. Kind of difficult to deal with. See if Geisty has an out. We're going to get Trap Dust Shoot here out of Sarsky's burn list. Really interesting. Generally, Burn doesn't want to be playing these like sort of fair strategies, but this is definitely a little bit less of an all-in Burn sort of list. We've seen Sarsky is running a Rhoda. They're running a little bit more of like just a beatdown plan with like Giant Rat into Lily and stuff like that, which not every Panda Burn list likes to do. So they do seem to be indexing a little bit more into the fair angle of the deck, in which case Trap Dust Shoot could make a little bit more sense. Kind of an interesting choice. I feel like generally in Burn, you don't want to be trading 1-for-1 with your opponent if you're not actually dealing damage. So I'm not sure exactly how this will work out. But we'll see if they can at least rip some good stuff out of Geisty's hand. Oh, and also Sarsky here might just be pivot smokescreen siding into Earth Aggro. That seems to be what's going on here. So they're going for, you know what? I guess that makes sense. So it was a little bit of a hybrid Earth Aggro Panda Burn list like we saw in game 1. They had Gravity Binds and Pandas, but they also had Giant Rats, Premature Burial, Rhodas, which are all stuff that's more common in Earth Aggro. So it seems like post side, they might take out their burn stuff and then bring in pure Earth Aggro. So you see the Gigantes, you see more fair cards like Trap Dust Shoot and Mind Control. And I'd be interested to see if Geisty was prepared for this or if they're going to get caught off guard by more of like a pure aggro list here in game 2. Hand here for Sarsky is solid. Minecon is a good card against Geisty's deck. Gigantes is just a little bit more aggression, although it's not live at the moment, but you do have another monster. And Premature kind of contradicts at this point in time with the Gigantes, but definitely both good cards to flood the board with attack damage. Geisty's hand is interesting. Spirit Reaper is a nice defensive card against Earth decks, although it will die to Mind Control, potentially. Double Knock in Geisty's hand, so it looks like Sarsky is winning this little smokescreen side deck war here, because it looks like they probably sided out of their like burn flip stuff. Be surprised if they're running the jars here, and so Geisty is going to get caught with a couple likely dead knocks in hand. Mirror Force is still a nice card to have, though, so there are some cards that overlap between both matchups. And then Faith and BLS. Faith doesn't really do anything at this point in time. No good spells to send back. So I think you probably want to send back the Spirit Reaper and keep the damage flowing in, is my guess. Yeah, sending back the Reaper definitely makes sense to me. Go ahead and hide those hands there. And guys, he's just going to set a couple back row pass. So likely one of them's Mirror Force and one of them's a Bluff Set Knock, is my guess. Setting both of them, like we saw in game 1, to play around potential back row removal here in the end phase, because you really want your Mirror Force to stick around here. Really good way to deal with Giant Rat, for example. Sarsky here knows that really just this Mirror Force to play around, so if you can remove it or deal with it some other way, could be pretty nice. We're going to go normal summon DD Assailant, play around the Mirror Force by sending Rat to defense, and then get in for 17. So we know Sarsky just top decked the DD Assailant for turn. Geisty is fine just blowing it here, though. Kind of interesting, especially now that you've seen the DD Assailant. You know that Sarsky is on a little bit more of an Earth Aggro sort of build here. So just using it just to block the damage and just for 1-for-1 in a matchup where Mirror Force could definitely get a lot more value here. And honestly, you're totally fine with this if you're Sarsky. You get a Dark Engrave, or you get an Earth Engrave that could potentially be used for Gigantes, or it's a nice Premature Burial target. And you dealt with the Mirror Force, so now you know that you're pretty safe to get through here. So good plan here for Sarsky so far. Getting lots of value out of that Trap Dust Shoot. And Geisty definitely on the back foot, even if they might not know it fully at this point in time. Still plenty of game left to play, though, of course. Geisty's just going to draw Set 1 Pass. Just trying to find a way to stabilize here. See if Sarsky commits more to the board here with either the Premature or the Gigantes. You know Mirror Force is gone. Unlikely Geisty top decks Torrential, but is something to potentially worry about. Let's see, though. We're going to go top deck Breaker. That's pretty nice. You probably pop the middle one. Yep. Hitting another Bluff Set Knock. Okay. So we know that this set card has to be an Ennoblement of Crossout. And now Breaker and Giant Rat can get in for a lot of damage. Ooh, and we're going to slam down the Gigantes as well. So we're going full aggro. Choosing to go for the Gigantes route instead of the Premature Burial route, but this gets more damage on the board, so that definitely makes sense to me. And Geisty is going to be on a pretty severe clock here at this point in time. Yeah. Starsky gets to pass with lethal on board. This Earth Aggro smokescreen doing a lot of work here. And we'll see if Geist has anything up their sleeve or if we're just going to go to game 3. I'm going to set a monster pass. Okay, so just trying to get something in the way. Gravekeeper Spy would be really nice, but not sure if Geist runs that. Starsky is going to go Mind Control is pretty nice, and that's just going to clear out the board. And this will be game 2 going to Starsky, catching Geisty out here with the Earth Aggro smokescreen. And now you have a pretty crazy mind game here going into game 3 of, will Starsky keep in their Earth Aggro stuff, or will they go back into Burn? It's going to make side decking really, really hard for Geisty, but we'll see exactly what sort of configuration they choose to go for. Game 3, Geist will be able to go first, but definitely could be on some weird stuff here. Gonna go open up with a T-set pass, not too bad. Starsky, let's see. We're gonna go Pot of Greed, +1. It's pretty nice. Into Mindcon. Cool. They steal a Sangan, so Geisty successfully baiting out the Mindcon, eliminating the card advantage off of this Pot of Greed, so it's a pretty neutral turn here for Starsky so far. And Sangan is pretty annoying for Earth Aggro specifically to deal with. So and it's also pretty good against Burn, being level 3. One of the best cards in the deck against both of those. Sangan is, a pretty broken card regardless, so no surprise it's good against Earth Aggro and Burn. But Starsky, your Mindcon got foiled. Do you have any sort of backup plan? It's just going to be set 3 pass. Interested to see if they're on more of a Burn plan here with a bunch of back row, or if they just didn't have any monsters to commit to the board at this point in time. See, Geisty, would not be surprised to see flip summon Sangan here, start pressuring the opponent. Heavy Storm is a pretty nice card here. We're going to chain Just Dessert's Trio. Okay, so yeah, it looks like Starsky is back on the Burn stuff here in game 3. And they do have a couple chainables here. Ring of Destruction getting hit, and Sakuretsu Armor getting hit. So Geisty actually going a little bit minus in card advantage here. And it's Just Dessert's getting a bunch of damage in. So pretty nice turn here for Starsky still. Heavy Storm, of course, a very, very good card against Burn. But not when your opponent has a full chainable combo against you with Trio plus Desserts. But that's how she rolls sometimes. Geisty, does have Spirit Reaper here, which is a very, very nice card against Burn. Both in terms of getting in the way of the opponent, preventing aggression sometimes. It doesn't match up very well against Panda, but being able to rip cards out of their hand means that they're not going to have enough Burn cards to kill you in a lot of scenarios. So Geisty fighting back here pretty well. Keeping the Sangan face down is a little bit interesting, so not trying to clock the opponent, and instead just playing a little bit more defensively. It's interesting. So they're going to hit in for 300 and rip out a card. See what they hit. They hit a Snatch Steal, so that's an out to Spirit Reaper in the bin. Probably feel pretty good with that hit if you're a Geisty. And going to pass turn. Starsky has Giant True Nade to bounce the back row, so maybe going for a little bit of a mini combo here. We're going to go Panda. Pretty nice. Panda attack over the Reaper. Hit for 3,000 damage. That's not too bad. And yeah, like I was saying, Reaper in general is not too bad against Burn if you can hit in and rip their cards out, but it is not great against Panda because it can just pierce over the pretty low stats. So Geisty has a nice big threat to deal with here. They're down to 3,000 life points, which is pretty scary. They're actually facing down lethal on board, technically. Interested to see how they can deal with this, or if they are able to at all. We're going to go knock the Sangan to free up a monster zone. Maybe that's what their plan was. Wow. Okay, so the pretty rare self-knock coming through to break out of this trio lock, but hey, sometimes you got to do it. And yeah, Geisty, I guess, expecting that Starsky was going to side back into the Burn stuff, so they kept in the knocks here even in game 3 after being shown the Earth Aggro smoke screen. Didn't find an offensive use for it, really, but they get to free up a monster zone. Interested to see what they choose to do with that. Okay, we're just going to set a couple back row, turn the Reaper to defense, and pass. So, interested to see what this monster zone was freed up for exactly. I guess it does power the Panda down a little bit. Now it's, what, 2,800? Which is not big enough to kill attacking over this Reaper, so maybe guys he's just trying to buy a turn by freeing up a monster zone. Although both of these back row could definitely be real. Starsky here. Just going to go attack over the Reaper again. Geisty is going to go all the way down to 400. Yeah, you have to assume there's basically no way to come back from this point. This is really rough. Sarsky on a burn list. You have 7,700 life. You're nowhere close to being dead, and your opponent's at 400. Really, really nice stuff there. Ooh, and we got level limit area B here and a set monster to add insult to injury. And Geisty, yeah, I think you might just not have enough juice here to get through this. We're going to Jar of Greed to dig a little bit further into the deck. And that is GG. Yep, the aggression here, the classic burn combo. Trio plus desserts plus Panda for a ton of damage turn after turn. Geisty on this Chaos Control list just did not have enough gas to deal with these threats. And Sarcy is going to take it down on this pretty cool Panda hybrid Earth Aggro list. Playing mind games with Geist, didn't really know what to keep in, what to side out. It's going to take that all the way to the bank, 2-1. Cool match, guys. Cool decks. Hope you enjoyed this one. I will catch you all next time.